Welcome, Card Sharks. I'm Robert, and this is Gwent. I'm still very new to Gwent. I only got into the beta, a couple days ago. I've played maybe a dozen games, but I'm really enjoying what I've seen so far. For right now, I'm not worried about customizing my deck or worrying about my collection. I'm just playing the basic decks and trying to limit myself just to playing the monsters for right now, just so I can get a better grasp of the core mechanics before I start spending any resources on, the metagame. So we're up against a full test, and in a moment we'll move into the mulligan stage, which is pretty interesting. So in this mulligan stage, I'm looking to get rid of any foglets that appear in my hand, and we can see that there are two right there, so that's an easy mulligan. The reason being is that the first card in our hand, Impenetrable Fog, will summon the foglets out of our deck or out of our graveyard, so we don't want them in our hand. Our third and final mulligan is pretty tricky, but I think I don't want the ghoul because it needs units to have died, and that generally won't happen in the first round. So my opponent's opening plays the prize-winning cow, which is a really interesting card. You see, it only has 1 power, but when it's destroyed, it summons a 9-power creature. Now, destroying it myself seems kinda like a strange move, but the thing about Gwent is that it's played in a best of 3. At the end of each round, all the minions on the board are removed, and so when the cow is removed in that way, it summons a 9-power creature at the start of the next round. As a monster deck, my faction ability is to leave my last played card on the board, so my strategy in destroying the cow was to basically preserve that as an advantage. Otherwise, he would keep his 9/9 and we'd be roughly even going into the second round. And so you can see I'm considering which card I want to play, and I end up going with my most powerful creature in hand. This is because I intend to concede the first round and use my monster faction ability to gain an advantage starting in the next round. Now the advantage here is twofold. I get to keep my Manticore, and also he had to spend an extra card, which means I have more cards in my hand. Unlike a lot of card games, you don't get access to your deck very much, so your hand is pretty much all you have. Now as for actually winning the game, the whole objective is just to get more points than your opponent on the board at the end of a round. To that end, you want to win by as little as you possibly can, so you have more resources available for the next round. In that way, him winning by so many points actually works really well in my favor. Of course, now the pressure's on me to win both of the next 2 rounds, but given that I have more cards in my hand than him, it is likely that I'll be able to do that. At this point, a few very large things were removed at the end of the last round, which makes a ghoul very likely to hit something powerful. And here my opponent is in a really rough spot. He needs me to play something weak so that I will retain that into the next round, so he'll be able to have a chance at winning round 3. That's really where the delicate balance and the really intricate strategy comes in with this game, and that's something I really enjoy. Now here may have been a misplay. I played the Foglet knowing that my Impenetrable Fog will summon it in the 3rd round, which I'm already counting on. So if my opponent had conceded this round, he would have nullified my faction advantage, which would have really worked out in his favor. Instead, it looks like he's going to fight for the board, and he's pretty incentivized to, because if he can win this round, he does win the game. I'm still not sure what the best play is, so my focus right now is just on having some kind of reason for my plays. My thinking in playing the Foglet was that it would come back with Impenetrable Fog on the next round, but it would come back with my faction ability anyway, so I try to cover for this mistake by using a potion on it. And here I get the sense that he really wants to fight for the board. I don't want to play out my 8-power creatures yet because I want them to be the last thing that I play so that they're retained into the last round. At the same time, there isn't a great target for my Wyvern, so I figured that 11-power creature is pretty large, and it might be worth a Scorch just to cement my lead in this round. I've got 2 trump cards that I'm relying on this game, one of which is my Impenetrable Fog combined with that potion next to it.
What do you want?
The Fog will summon 3 of the Foglets, and then that potion targets 1 creature and gives +4 power to every copy of it, so you can see they work well together. The other trump card that I'm relying on is my faction's leader ability, which allows me to summon an 11-power creature, and for a moment I'm considering using it to cement my lead in this game. But I think if I can play him last, I'll retain him into the last round, which will be excellent. So instead, I go for using the Wyvern on his 3-power creature to remove it. I'm not sure exactly what's in his deck, but I figure giving him less options on the board should be some kind of an advantage. At this point, it looks like he's willing to just play his heart out for this round, so I'm going to throw in my 8-power creatures and use my leader ability as my last creature summon. And here we see the actual mechanics of his deck, and it seems pretty interesting. I haven't tried it myself, but it looks like it's sort of a combo deck, where copying instances of a card allows you to play its effects again. At this point, I'm in a pretty tight position where he's actually starting to catch up, and I really can't afford to pass. I need to be certain that I win this round, or else I'm out of the game. And then some of the dialogue in this game is absolutely hilarious. Anyway, at this point, it seems like my opponent knows his back is up against the wall, where I'm going to snowball an advantage into the next round, and he doesn't have much resources left, so he starts pulling out all the tricks in his deck. And here I'm really considering playing my Impenetrable Fog because it will drastically lower the power of all of those creatures in his second row. Instead, I elect to use my leader ability because he'll be retained into the next round, whereas if I play my Fog Wall now, then I won't be able to get my Foglets in the next round. And now he's out of resources, no more surprises, so I can just play it out and win this round. The last thing he has left is his leader ability, which only provides a 14-point swing. It's not enough to win, but he makes kind of a misplay in using it here. Now he does do something kind of clever here, which is that he copies the Ballista, which re-triggers its ability to remove 3 power from an opposing creature, and then he targets that onto my leader, which is going to end up in the next round with 3 less power. He doesn't have any good options really at that point in the game, but I think the better plan would have been to bank on the 1 card that you draw in the final round and trying to copy that and hoping it's a big creature. But he's going into the round with my leader already in play, and I have 2 cards in my hand. It just isn't looking good for him. And then he plays a card I haven't seen before, so I'm going to take a minute to go into the graveyard and look at that. The interface isn't too similar to other card games I've played, so it's a little bit clunky for me to maneuver in it still. But here I'm just going to play out the final piece of the trump card and secure my victory. All that's left is for him to pass around, and then for me to pass around, because technically I still have a card that I can play. And then we'll wait around for some of the animations to clear. Frankly, the game plays so quickly that it's kind of jarring when these moments slow down. Of course, that's a very minor complaint. Anyway, that was an excellently played game. It's very close, well played to my opponent, and I hope to upload more of these videos in the future. I'll see you guys then.